Imagine getting shot in the face. The bullet tears through your skull, right behind your left eye, and somehow you survive. Now imagine losing your hand, blown off by a shell, and you don't even complain. Then getting shot again, through the ankle, through the leg, through the hip, even through the ear, and still you survive. Now picture this, surviving not one, but 2 plane crashes. And when doctors refuse to amputate your mangled fingers, you just bite them off yourself with your own teeth. And after all of that, when someone asks how you feel about it, you simply say, "Honestly, I enjoyed it." This isn't a movie character. This isn't fiction. This was a real man. Lieutenant General Sir Adrian Carton de Wiart, the most indestructible human being who ever lived. He fought in 3 major wars, was wounded 11 separate times, lost an eye and a hand, escaped from a POW camp at age 61, and lived to be 83 years old. Oh, and he could fire 30 aimed shots per minute with a Lee-Enfield Rifle, with one hand. This is the story of the man who simply refused to die. And I promise you, every single thing I'm about to tell you is documented and true. No exaggeration needed. Let's dive in. Adrian Carton de Wiart was born on May 5, 1880, in Brussels, Belgium. And right from the start, this guy was destined for chaos. His father was a wealthy Belgian lawyer. His mother died when he was 6. He was sent to boarding schools in England, where he was, by all accounts, a terrible student. But even as a kid, Adrian was obsessed with one thing: war. He read military history. He studied battles. He wanted nothing more than to be a soldier. His family wanted him to be a lawyer. Adrian had other plans. At age 19, he enrolled at Oxford University, lasted about 5 minutes. Found it boring. Then in 1899, something happened that changed his life. The Second Boer War broke out in South Africa. Britain was fighting the Boer republics, and young Adrian saw his chance. Here's where it gets interesting. He was technically Belgian, not British, but he wanted to fight. So what did he do? He lied about his age, changed his name to Trooper Cox, and enlisted in a British cavalry unit. Just faked his way into a war. His family was furious. Oxford was furious. Adrian, having the time of his life. He served in South Africa with the Middlesex Regiment, saw his first combat, got his first taste of war, and absolutely loved it. He later wrote in his autobiography, "I found war entirely suited me. I loved the excitement, the danger, the comradeship. Most people experience war and are traumatized. Adrian experienced war and found his calling." After the Boer War ended, he returned to Britain, but he wasn't done with the military. He got a proper commission in the British Army, this time legally. He joined the 4th Royal Irish Dragoon Guards, then transferred to the Somaliland Camel Corps. Yeah, you heard that right, Camel Corps, fighting in Africa again. And it's here, in Somaliland in 1914, that Adrian Carton de Wiart started his collection of injuries. Somaliland, 1914. Adrian is now a captain, fighting against the forces of Mohammed Abdullah Hassan, known to the British as the Mad Mullah. During a battle at a place called Shimber Barras, Adrian's unit was ambushed. He was shot, twice, once in the face, once in the hand. The shot to the face went through his left eye socket, behind the eye, shattered bone, blood everywhere. Most men would have gone down screaming. Adrian, he kept fighting. The shot to the hand shattered 2 of his fingers, mangled them badly. The pain must have been excruciating. They evacuated him to a field hospital. The doctors looked at his eye. Gone. Couldn't save it. They put a patch on it. They looked at his hand. The fingers were badly damaged, but maybe salvageable? They wanted to wait, see if they'd heal. Adrian had a different opinion. The fingers hurt. They were in the way. They weren't going to work properly again, and the doctors were being too cautious. So Adrian, he bit them off. Let me say that again. He used his teeth to bite off his own damaged fingers. The doctors came back to check on him and found him sitting there, fingers gone, spitting out bits of bone. They were horrified. Adrian just shrugged and said something like, "They were bothering me." This is the kind of man we're dealing with here. So by 1914, before World War I even started, Adrian had already lost an eye and 2 fingers. He was 34 years old and just getting started. When World War I broke out in August 1914, Adrian was back in Britain, recovering from his Somaliland wounds. Did he stay home and rest? Of course not. He volunteered immediately. By now, he was a major. One-eyed, missing fingers, but somehow still fit for duty. He was assigned to command a battalion of the Royal Irish Rifles, and over the next 4 years, Adrian Carton de Wiart would become a legend. Let's count his World War I injuries, shall we? Injury number 3, shot through the ear. Battle of the Somme, 1916. Bullet went clean through his earlobe. He called it a scratch. Injury number 4, shot through the ankle. Same battle, shattered the bone. Walked with a limp for the rest of his life. Didn't stop him from running toward enemy positions. Injury number 5, shot in the leg. Different battle. Can't remember which one. He mentions it so casually in his memoirs, like it barely registered. Injury number 6, shot in the hip. This one was bad. The bullet lodged near his spine, too dangerous to remove. He carried that bullet in his body for the rest of his life. Injury number 7, shell explosion. Lost his left hand, blown clean off at the wrist by a German shell during the Battle of Passchendaele in 1915. Most officers would have been sent home, career over. You can't command with one hand, right? Wrong. Adrian refused to leave. They fitted him with a primitive prosthetic, basically a leather cup and some metal brackets. He learned to do everything one-handed. Shoot, ride a horse, salute, write. He even learned to light his pipe one-handed. He was a heavy pipe smoker. Developed this technique where he'd hold the match with his teeth while lighting the pipe with his remaining hand. Nothing stopped this man. And here's what's even more incredible. He kept volunteering for the most dangerous assignments. Trench raids? He led them. Going over the top into no man's land? First one out. Attacking German positions? Front of the line. His men loved him because he never asked them to do anything he wouldn't do himself. And he had this weird, infectious enthusiasm for combat. One soldier who served under him said, "The colonel acts like war is some kind of jolly sport. He grins while bullets are flying. It's either inspiring or insane. Maybe both." Adrian was awarded the Victoria Cross in 1916. That's Britain's highest military honor, equivalent to America's Medal of Honor. The citation described him leading an attack despite being wounded, rallying his men, capturing enemy positions. Just another day at the office for Adrian. He was also awarded the Distinguished Service Order, twice, plus about a dozen other medals from various Allied nations. By the end of World War I, Adrian was a brigadier general. He'd survived 4 years of the worst warfare in human history. Lost an eye, a hand, been shot 6 times, blown up by shells. And when asked about his experience, he famously wrote, "Frankly, I had enjoyed the war." Enjoyed. The man enjoyed World War I. Most veterans came home with PTSD, shell shock, nightmares. Adrian came home disappointed it was over. Okay, quick pause here. If you're enjoying this absolutely insane story, do me a favor and hit that like button. It really helps the algorithm show this to more people. And drop a comment below. What's the craziest part so far? The self-amputation? The "I enjoyed the war" quote? Let me know what's blowing your mind, because trust me, we're only halfway through. This man's story gets even more ridiculous. All right, let's get back to it. World War II is coming, and Adrian is about to prove he's truly unkillable. After World War I, Adrian retired from active service. Well, retired is a strong word. He was sent to Poland in 1919 as part of a British military mission. Poland was fighting Soviet Russia, and Britain was supporting them. Adrian advised Polish forces, trained troops, and probably found excuses to get near the fighting. He loved Poland, ended up buying an estate there, settled down, got married, had 2 daughters, lived a relatively quiet life for about 20 years. But quiet is relative when you're Adrian Carton de Wiart. He hunted, a lot, big game, deer, whatever he could shoot. He was an excellent marksman despite having one eye, learned to compensate for the lack of depth perception, and he stayed involved with military training, consulting, advisory roles. He couldn't fully leave the military life behind. Then, in 1939, World War II started. Adrian was 59 years old, one eye, one hand, multiple old gunshot wounds, walking with a limp. Surely they wouldn't call him back to active duty, right? Oh, but they did. When Germany invaded Poland in September 1939, Adrian's estate was overrun. He barely escaped with his family. They fled to Britain. The British Army immediately gave him a job. He was made a major general and sent to Norway in 1940 as part of a British expeditionary force. Norway was a disaster. The Germans overwhelmed the Allied forces. Adrian's unit was surrounded and had to evacuate. They got on a plane to escape. The plane crashed. Let me say that again. Adrian was in a plane crash. The aircraft went down in the ocean. Everyone thought he was dead. He swam to shore, one-handed. At age 60, he was picked up by another evacuation aircraft. That plane also crashed. I'm not kidding. 2 plane crashes, same evacuation. He survived both. Minor injuries. Probably grumbled about the incompetence of pilots. Injury number 8. Various cuts and bruises from plane crashes. Doesn't even count as a real injury for him. After Norway, Adrian was sent to Yugoslavia in 1941 as a liaison officer. His job was to coordinate with Yugoslav forces resisting the German invasion. It went badly. Yugoslavia fell. Adrian and some other officers tried to escape by submarine from the Dalmatian coast. They were captured by Italian forces. Now, for most 61-year-old one-eyed, one-handed generals, being captured would mean sitting out the rest of the war in a POW camp. Adrian had other ideas. Adrian was taken to an Italian POW camp, a castle actually, Castello di Vinciliata, near Florence. It was a camp for high-ranking Allied officers. Relatively comfortable, as far as POW camps go. Good food, decent quarters, guards who weren't too harsh. Most prisoners settled in, played cards, wrote letters, waited for the war to end. Not Adrian. He immediately started planning an escape. At age 61, one eye, one hand, multiple old war wounds. The other prisoners thought he was insane. "General, you'll never make it. You're too old." Just wait for the war to end. Adrian didn't care. He was not sitting out this war in a castle. He studied the guards' routines. He mapped the area. He learned some Italian. And after several months, he made his move. One night, he climbed out a window, got over the wall, and started walking. His plan? Walk across Italy, get to Allied lines. Simple. Now, Italy in 1943 was crawling with German and Italian troops, checkpoints everywhere, patrols, informers. And here's a 6-foot-tall, one-eyed, one-handed British general with a distinctive limp, trying to blend in. He made it 8 days. 8 days on foot, hiding during the day, walking at night, stealing food from farms, sleeping in ditches, avoiding patrols. Eventually, he was caught. Some Italian villagers spotted him and reported him to the authorities. He was brought back to the camp. The Italian commandant was furious, also kind of impressed. They put him in solitary confinement for a while. When he got out, he immediately started planning another escape. He tried again, got caught again, tried a third time, caught again. The Italians finally gave up trying to hold him. When Italy switched sides in 1943 and joined the Allies, Adrian was released. He'd spent 2 years as a POW, had attempted escape multiple times, never gave up. At age 63, Adrian Carton de Wiart was finally free. Now, throughout all these wars, all these battles, Adrian had a favorite weapon, one rifle that he praised above all others, the Lee-Enfield. Specifically, the short magazine Lee-Enfield, or SMLE, the standard British service rifle from 1895 to 1957. And Adrian loved this rifle. He wrote extensively about it. He trained his men on it, and he could use it devastatingly effectively, even with one hand. Let me tell you about the Lee-Enfield, because it's one of the greatest military rifles ever made. The Lee-Enfield is a bolt-action rifle. It fires the .303 British cartridge. It has a 10-round detachable magazine. That's twice the capacity of most other rifles of the era. The bolt action is incredibly smooth, fast. The bolt handle is positioned at the back of the receiver, which means you don't have to break your firing position to cycle it. You can keep your cheek on the stock, your eye on the target. Adrian famously said, a properly trained soldier could fire 30 aimed shots per minute with the Lee-Enfield. That's insane. That's one shot every 2 seconds. Aimed shots, not just spraying bullets. And he's not exaggerating. British soldiers trained extensively on rapid fire. The technique was called Mad Minute. Soldiers would practice shooting as many rounds as possible into a target at 300 yards in 1 minute. Skilled soldiers regularly hit 30 rounds. Some exceptional marksmen hit 35 or more. This rapid-fire capability was devastating in combat. At the Battle of Mons in 1914, German forces thought they were facing machine guns. Nope, just British riflemen with Lee-Enfields. The Germans couldn't believe the volume of fire. They reported in after-action reports that they'd faced massed automatic weapons. It was just guys with bolt-action rifles, shooting really, really fast. The rifle's accuracy was excellent, effective range of about 550 yards. But in skilled hands, you could hit targets much farther. It was also incredibly reliable. The Lee-Enfield could take mud, sand, water, cold, heat, and keep firing. Very few stoppages, easy to maintain. And here's what's remarkable about Adrian. He could do all of this with one hand. Think about that for a second. A bolt-action rifle normally requires 2 hands, one to support and aim, one to work the bolt. Adrian developed a technique. He'd brace the rifle against his body or use the prosthetic hand as a support, work the bolt with his good hand, rapid fire, accurate fire. He trained his men on the Lee-Enfield constantly, emphasized marksmanship, emphasized rapid fire. He believed that a well-trained rifleman was worth 10 poorly trained ones. In his memoirs, he wrote, "Give me a battalion of men who can shoot straight and shoot fast, and I'll take on any position." He proved it too, multiple times. His units had some of the highest combat effectiveness ratings in the British Army. After World War II ended, Adrian finally, truly retired. He was 65 years old. He'd fought in 3 major wars, survived 11 separate wounds, lost an eye and a hand, been in 2 plane crashes, escaped from a POW camp. Surely, now he'd settle down, right? He moved to Ireland and took up fishing. But not just any fishing, deep sea fishing, big game fishing. The kind of fishing where you're fighting marlins and sharks for hours with one hand. Of course he did. He wrote his autobiography, titled Happy Odyssey. The title alone tells you everything about his personality. He described his life of constant warfare, injury, and danger as a happy odyssey. The book is full of dry British humor and massive understatement. He describes losing his hand as a bit of a nuisance, being shot multiple times as unfortunate, plane crashes as inconvenient. He never complained, never portrayed himself as a victim, never expressed bitterness or regret. In the book he wrote, "Looking back, I can only say that I have thoroughly enjoyed my life. I have been lucky in that I found something I loved to do and was able to do it. That something was war." The man genuinely loved combat. Adrian Carton de Wiart died on June 5, 1963, at the age of 83. He died peacefully in his sleep at his home in Ireland. After surviving everything war could throw at him, he died of old age, in bed. It's almost disappointing, isn't it? You'd expect him to die doing something ridiculous, fighting a bear, jumping out of a plane, leading a charge. But no, old age finally got him. The only thing that could. So what do we make of Adrian Carton de Wiart? First, the man was biologically different, maybe. His pain tolerance was superhuman. His resilience was off the charts. Most people would have been finished after the first major wound. Adrian collected them like badges. Some historians have speculated he had some kind of genetic mutation affecting pain receptors, or maybe exceptional endorphin response, or maybe he was just built differently. Second, mindset matters. More than anything, Adrian never saw himself as disabled or limited. Lost an eye? Adjust your aim. Lost a hand? Learn to do it one-handed. Shot in the hip? Walk it off. He refused to accept limitations, refused to be defined by his injuries, refused to quit. That's a powerful mindset. Probably what kept him alive when others would have given up. Third, he genuinely loved what he did, and that's complicated. Most people who survive war are traumatized by it. Most come home haunted, changed, damaged. Adrian came home energized, fulfilled, happy. Is that healthy? Probably not. Is it unusual? Absolutely. But it's honest. He found something he was good at, something that, however dark this sounds, brought him joy. And in the context of defending his country and fighting against genuine tyranny, maybe that's okay. He wasn't a bloodthirsty psychopath. His men loved him. He was known for treating prisoners well. He opposed injustice. He just thrived in the chaos of combat, in a way most people don't. Fourth, weapons mastery matters. Adrian's expertise with the Lee-Enfield wasn't just about being a good shot. It was about understanding the weapon completely, knowing its capabilities, training constantly. Even with his disabilities, he was more effective than most able-bodied soldiers because he put in the work, because he understood his tools. That's a lesson that applies beyond warfare. Master your tools, whatever they are. Quick question for you. If you could ask Adrian Carton de Wiart one question, what would it be? Drop it in the comments. I'm genuinely curious what you'd want to know from this absolute madman. And if you're enjoying this deep dive into military history and weapon stories, make sure you're subscribed. I've got more incredible soldier stories coming. Trust me, there are more characters like Adrian out there. Not many, but a few. All right, let's wrap this up. Adrian Carton de Wiart's legacy is complicated. In military circles, he's a legend. The ultimate warrior. The soldier who couldn't be stopped. His Victoria Cross, his DSOs, his service across 3 wars. That's the stuff of legend. But outside military history buffs, he's relatively unknown. There's no major movie about him. No big memorial. Most people have never heard his name. And honestly, I think he'd prefer it that way. He wasn't interested in fame. He turned down interviews. He didn't seek publicity. He just wanted to serve, to fight, to do his job. The few interviews he did give were full of deflection and humor. He downplayed everything, made jokes about his injuries, refused to be called a hero. But here's what's undeniable. He inspired everyone around him. Soldiers who served under him consistently described him as fearless. Not reckless, fearless. There's a difference. Reckless people take stupid risks for no reason. Adrian took calculated risks when necessary. He led from the front. He shared his men's dangers. He never asked anyone to do something he wouldn't do. That kind of leadership is rare. That kind of courage is infectious. And his weapon expertise, particularly with the Lee-Enfield, set a standard. He proved that marksmanship and training mattered more than firepower. That one skilled soldier was worth 10 unskilled ones. The British Army's emphasis on rifle training, on mad-minute drills, on marksmanship. Guys like Adrian reinforced that culture. The Lee-Enfield itself went on to legendary status. Used in both world wars. Used in Korea. Some forces still use variants today. Over 17 million produced. And every time someone fires a Lee-Enfield, they're using the same rifle Adrian praised. The same rifle he used to hold off German attacks. The same rifle he could fire 30 times in a minute, with one hand. So that's the story of Lieutenant General Sir Adrian Carton de Wiart, the unkillable soldier. Shot in the face, lost an eye, lost a hand to a shell, shot through the skull, ankle, leg, hip, and ear, bit off his own fingers, survived 2 plane crashes, escaped from a POW camp at age 61, fought in 3 major wars, and when asked about World War I, he said, "Frankly, I enjoyed it." The man was absolutely indestructible. Or stubborn, or insane, probably all 3. But he was real. Every single thing I told you is documented. This actually happened. Now I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below. What's the most unbelievable part of Adrian's story? The self-amputation? The "I enjoyed war" quote? Escaping at 61? Surviving 2 plane crashes? Or maybe you think he was just completely insane. That's valid too. Let me know in the comments. And here's a question for discussion. Do you think someone like Adrian could exist in modern warfare? Or was he a product of his time? I'm genuinely curious what you think. If you enjoyed this deep dive, please hit that like button. Share this video with anyone who loves military history or just incredible human stories. Because honestly, you can't make this stuff up. Subscribe if you want more soldier stories, weapon histories, and tales from the world wars. I've got videos coming on snipers, tank aces, fighter pilots, and more characters who were almost as crazy as Adrian. Almost. Nobody was quite as crazy as Adrian. Before I go, let me leave you with one more quote from his autobiography. This one sums up his entire philosophy. I have enjoyed every minute of my life, and I regret nothing. I have been extraordinarily lucky. I have done things I wanted to do. I have met people I wanted to meet, and I have seen places I wanted to see. If I had my time over again, I would not change a single moment. A man who lost an eye, lost a hand, was shot 11 times, survived plane crashes and POW camps, and regretted nothing. That's either the most inspiring thing you've ever heard, or the most concerning. Maybe both. Thank you for watching. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and never, ever bite off your own fingers. Leave that to the professionals like Adrian. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and maybe appreciate that you're probably not getting shot at today. Unlike Adrian, who would probably be disappointed about that.